Hello everyone and welcome to the finals of the FTX Crypto Cup, and this is the first round with the wrong name for Wesley for some reason. Sorry about that. There we go. Good thing I caught that on the first second. Alright, so it's Wesley So versus Magnus Carlsen, and this is the first game of their final match of the FTX Crypto Cup, and Wesley has the white piece, so it's already a very exciting one. Without further ado, let's check out what happened here. So Wesley has the white pieces and he opens with e4. We have e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and the bishop to c4. We have bishop to c5, and I know what you guys are wondering, will the finals be where we finally see the move? No, it won't. First, Wesley goes c3, so just a normal Giuoco Piano. The main line, we have knight to f6, and now striking in the center with d4. We have e captures on d4, and now e5, one of the oldest lines in chess. We have d5 attacking the bishop and bishop to b5 now. We have knight to e4, and now c captures on d4, attacking the bishop here. And now there are some games where bishop to b4 check is played, but black has much better results with bishop to b6, so of course Magnus goes for that. Knight to c3, and now we have castles by Magnus. We have bishop to e3, continuing development, and Magnus does the same. Bishop to g4, we have queen to c2, unpinning, now the knight can move, and the bishop now to f5. Now you're already threatening a lot of very nasty stuff, like maybe knight to g3, attacking the queen, attacking the rook, also defending the bishop. So white needs to do something about this. And as Magnus lost a tempo here by moving the bishop twice, Wesley doesn't mind by wasting a tempo by playing queen to b3. So here we have knight to e7, preparing to kick away the bishop with c6, and here Wesley castles. We have c6, bishop back to e2, and here Magnus played rook to b8. And it's a funny looking move, but it comes with the idea that if Wesley attacks the bishop with knight to a4, you can move the bishop, and then the b7 pawn will be nicely defended. And the problem is, this is a completely new move, so it has never been played before. Wesley most likely encountering it for the first time, but Magnus spent a lot of time reaching this position. Magnus is down to 5 minutes already, whereas Wesley basically gained time. He only played on by gaining increment. He has 16 more minutes on the clock. So here Wesley continues with knight to a4, attacks the bishop here, bishop to c7, and now knight to h4. Like we say, the knight on the rim is dim, but maybe two knights are not. So here attacking the bishop here, and while Magnus could go back, if you go back you allow some f3 ideas, then we have to play b5, then the knight can go here, so you can trade off this guy, captures, and then we play this position. Magnus doesn't like this, and he plays f6. Now once again, is this one of the positions where f6 kind of ruins the game for black? Let's see what Wesley plays. And there are a lot of options here, which is not surprising, since this is a very well prepared engine line for both sides, and trying to even analyze this with conventional engines will only, get you so far. So here, obviously the e5 pawn is defended. You could attacked. You could defend it with something like f4. You could maybe play f3, try to kick it away. You could play bishop to f3. You could play maybe knight to c3 again. Go for this knight here, and then maybe if captures, then we capture on e5. D captures on e5, so we get this position. Maybe f4 can be played later on. But either way, all of this seems perfectly fine for both white and black. However, here after f6, Wesley played bishop to f3, and now comes, b5, chasing away this knight to c3, and only now Magnus captures. So knight captures on c3, but Wesley doesn't capture back. Instead, he plays e captures on f6. So he's going for a somewhat an adventurous line. Magnus being extremely low on time probably had something to do with that. He wants to keep things complicated, as Wesley thrives in chaos. If you've seen any of the previous games or matches that he played. And here we have bishop to e4. So it's a really interesting idea. You could also try something like queen to d6. This threatens mate in one, and only after white defends this, then you pick up the pawn with queen. So while this is possible, then we'd see something like queen captures on c3, bishop to h3, attacking the rook here, and after, let's say, bishop g2 captures, or maybe even better, knight captures, we get this position, and then who knows what's happening. But Magnus, even though he's already down to 1 minute on the clock, he plays bishop to e4, keeps all the tension. Now both of his knights are hanging, and it's up to Wesley to find a move here. Wesley decides to capture the knight on c3, and only now queen to d6, threatening checkmate. We have g3, and now Magnus captures the bishop here. We have bishop captures on f3, and now should Wesley capture back, and this is definitely a possibility, then Magnus just wins the f6 pawn, and then after knight to e5, it's a beautiful outpost for the knight, because you never really want to capture this with the bishop. The bishop is such a great piece here. If you capture this, it doesn't really do anything. Now if queen captures on a5, you can capture on a7, then the material is equal. Not much really to worry about here. So instead, Magnus goes after this, bishop to f3, we have bishop to f4, a nice Zwischenzug by Wesley attacking the queen now. Queen captures on f6, and now bishop captures on c7, attacking Magnus's rook here. We have rook to b7, and now bishop back to e5 with an attack on the queen. So queen to f7, and only now knight captures on f3. We have queen captures on f3, and now comes queen to b4. And this is, again, already quite an adventurous move. We have knight to f5 by Magnus, and now the problem is that Wesley's queen on b4 isn't really doing anything. And here what Wesley should do is play queen back to b3, and then maybe play something like c4, try and offer a pawn here to get a queen trade in. However, Wesley played queen to c5, going after the c6 pawn, but now this only brings trouble for him, because Magnus here triples up on the f file. He plays rook b to f7, and now what do you play here? Wesley brings the rook into the game, rook 8 to e1, but now h5, and that's the problem. Magnus doesn't care about the c pawn. He's just going to push this pawn, open up the king's position, or even better, get it to h3 and then deliver queen to g2 checkmate. There's really nothing you can do about that, since you only have rooks and you have a dark square bishop. g2 is a light square. So here h3, Wesley tries to prevent this. So now if Magnus pushes h4, then maybe he can do something in between, but not really. Magnus says h4. I'm still just gonna play this. Problem is g4 really just opens up the white position too much, so he doesn't appreciate this. He plays queen captures on c6, but this is now even worse, because Wesley saw one continuation, but Magnus had a different one in mind. Feel free to pause the video here and win the game for Magnus while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on not going with the h-pawn, since this only yields a draw at best, because if h captures on g3, you can simply recapture, and now there's really no good move here. The bishop covers this pawn, and if you do something like, let's say you could move the knight, but then your queen gets captured. So best for black is to simply play something like knight captures here and offer a trade. Rook captures on f3, knight captures on c6. We can capture on f7, king captures, and we trade down into a very, very simple endgame. So what Magnus did instead is not capture with the h1, he played captures with knight. So congratulations to everyone who found that. And now there really isn't anything Wesley can do here, because if the knight is captured, then we have this beautiful mate with a queen sacrifice, queen captures on f1 with check. Now you have to capture. If king goes to h2, rook f2 is checkmate, so you have to capture the queen, but now it's just rook captures on f1 check, king to g2, and now rook to f2 checkmate. So that's probably what Wesley missed. So he played bishop captures on g3 instead, but now just h captures on g3. And now there really isn't a good move for white. Wesley tried rook to e8, maybe fend off one of the attackers, but just g2 by Magnus, the absolute quickest way to win, and that's just it. Wesley traded here once, captures, and it was in this position on move 33 that Wesley so resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Why did he resign? Well, you lose the rook, and you can't move the rook because queen captures this, and that's just it. After one check is given, you're just going to hide your king, and that's it. If you move your rook anywhere, doesn't really matter. We're just going to capture here with check, bring the king to h2, and now play pawn to g1 and bring anything. Okay, it's best just maybe to bring a queen into the game with instant checkmate, but pretty much doing anything will will also win you the game. So yeah, after rook captures and f8, Wesley resigned, and it's really interesting because Magnus spent so much time in the opening. When he played this rook to b8 move, he was already he had 10 minutes less than Wesley. But this was a new move. Wesley didn't pick up the position as quickly as he kind of should have, because Wesley really thrives in chaos. Like I said, he is the world the world official random champion. So really interesting that Magnus was able to take this one fairly easily. 33 moves against Wesley. That's pretty awesome. So we'll see if Wesley is able to bounce back. Will we have a really crazy match, or will this be a one-sided match? As Magnus already lost the first 2 matches against Wesley, so now if Wesley wins the third one, then we really have to question who is the absolute best chess player in the world. So Magnus should really win one of them. But yeah, once again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Riki Shiki Lapiguchi, Suresh Kota, Mario Balukcic, Aditya Kiran Komanduri, and Dan De Jong for contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the FTX Crypto Cup finals, checking up your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.